This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Let's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome, everybody, to the Raw Review for Tuesday, May 6th, 2025. As we have a PLE in just a few days, Backlash comes to us, and it's shaping up to be an interesting card. I know that it is coming off WrestleMania. It's, of course, not usually the most exciting PLE. If I was to choose any PLE out of the year to watch or to not watch, this may be one of them outside of any of the Saudi events. But this is shaping up to be a good wrestling card, and not so much an unpredictable outcome card, but more of, again, looking at the quality of the wrestling and the matches and potential storyline progression. That's where we should really, I think, aim our focus rather than, is anybody going to drop the belt? Are we going to have a new champion? And while some of that is possible, it seems unlikely as we go into Saturday. So we'll have our predictions later this week for Backlash that comes to us Saturday night. I'm still loving the Saturday night PLEs. I do appreciate it more than Sundays. And it's just, I think it's a format here to stay. But beyond that, a couple things. Number one, I want to give shout outs to the new patrons of the show. Klaas Van Menser and Chloe No Kardash. Thank you both, as well as Haas. Thank you for joining us at patreon.com/WWE podcast. If you want a shout out on the show, head on over to Patreon, get yourself an ad-free experience, and I'll give you a shout out on the show, as well as you getting priority placement in the mailbag, meaning I read your emails up front before any of the non-patrons, and a Discord server and other stuff. So check it out. But the other important piece of news coming out of the wire today, not wrestling related, but certainly I think a certain subset of my audience would be interested to hear, if you didn't already, and I'm sure you did. The second trailer for GTA 6 is out. Already has 40 million views. I mean, it might be the fastest to 40 million out of any YouTube video ever released, or on X, or I think Rockstar released it all over social media at the same time earlier this morning. And we have GTA 6 trailer 2. It's 3 minutes long. And if you care about such things, it is a hell of a trailer in terms of what the game could offer. And the official release date is a year from now. May 26th, 2026 is the official date for the release of GTA 6. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if that is the final trailer before GTA 6 releases. I know I've heard rumors of, there's 10 more to come, and I don't believe it. The CEO of Rockstar recently came out and said that this game doesn't need trailers, and which is true, but also you may still be reaching people that you otherwise may not have if you don't release trailers, because trailers create a ton of buzz. And I would suspect, honestly, they'll probably release one more prior to the release, maybe in winter or early spring of next year, to really get fans hyped. How can they not? Because that's a year away. That's in our attention spans today. That is 3 eternities long of a time span. So it is an exciting day if you're a GTA fan, although it's also depressing knowing that you have to wait an entire year before you get to hear and see GTA 6 in your hands. Also, get ready to pay out your ass. This game isn't going to go on sale. It's not going to be at a discount. It's going to be probably upwards of $100 to buy the game. I would not be surprised. And the thing is, people are going to pay it. That's my guess. We haven't heard about pricing, but I mean, I honestly, anywhere between $80 and $100. And that's just for the standard edition, not with all the add-ons and stuff. But they'll get away with it and make $4 gajillion on this thing. It is the most expensive video game to ever be produced in the history of mankind. And it also will be a 13-year gap between GTA 5 and GTA 6. That's insane. It's 13 years. Now, they haven't been working on it for 13 years, but still, that tells you the longevity of this game, the popularity of this game, the replayability of this game. It's incredible. And I think people have been burned out of GTA 5 for like the last 6 years and waiting on GTA 6, but 13 years between titles is insane. I mean, my life, I don't think I'll get past GTA 8 or not, and maybe GTA 9. Then I'll be dead. It's only a few more versions away based on this pacing of their releases. So maybe I'll get to the PlayStation 10, and then GTA 9 will come out, and then I'll pass away with my family surrounded in the hospital room while my hands are on the controller playing GTA 9. All right, anyway, moving on to wrestling. That's what you're here for. We're not here to talk about GTA, but we're here to talk about wrestling. And let's do that as Backlash approaches in just a couple of days. So let's talk about Monday Night Raw. And we'll start right at the top of the show. All right, let's start right there. And Cole listed the attendance, 11.5. And we had Jey Uso obliged by signaling for his music to play. And he said he knew Logan Paul was in the building. And he said, "Where are you at?" However, a different Paul said, "Ladies and gentlemen." I mean, kind of a surprising confrontation here with Paul Heyman. He comes out and said he wanted to say something to Jey, who responded by saying that Heyman had a lot of balls for entering the ring with what he did to his family. And Jey said he saw past Heyman since day one and warned Roman Reigns and CM Punk about him. Heyman said Jey should have warned him about Reigns and Punk, and then took to the crowd to keep their boos, that told them to keep their boos to themselves. That's when a CM Punk chant broke out as Heyman spoke about him, and he mocked the chants and said fans chant Punk's name because they don't know what's in his dark heart. He said Punk put him in a position that he knew would sabotage his relationship with Reigns, and then the fans responded with OTC chants. Heyman said he built the bloodline for 5 years and questioned if Reigns thought he was going to share all of his secrets with Punk. "Why would I do that?" asked Heyman, and Heyman said he found a stray big dog on the island of relevancy and turned him into the man who had a record-setting title reign. He said he wasn't the one who lost the championship to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. He said he spent 5 years building up Roman Reigns, and when he lost the title, he disappeared and left him in the hands of Solo Sikoa and the Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, the Tongans. And Heyman said Reigns came back, but only to get his Ula Fala. He said Reigns couldn't handle the fact that he wanted to help out his best friend, and Heyman yelled how he was always labeled the scumbag, and he yelled, "I'm right." Heyman yelled at Jey, "I'm right, and you blame me. Screw you. Screw each and every one of you for booing in the crowd." It was just, all over Heyman. And Jey said, "Are you okay?" And he asked what all this had to do with him. Heyman said he owed Jey an apology. He said he had nothing to do with Jey, and he didn't come out to talk about Reigns and Punk. He basically said that Rollins wants the championship. And Heyman mentioned Braun Breaker and said that was just phase 1 of their plan. Phase 2 is the World Heavyweight Championship. And he said he was there to offer a favor. He said he would let Jey pick the night when he loses the World Championship. And he challenged, on behalf of Rollins, challenged Jey to a World Championship match. And that's when Jey said, "Let's do it tonight." So we get a World Championship match on Monday Night Raw. And I have to say, it did feel like a bigger deal than usual for a title match on Raw, because they haven't defended the world title on Raw in a while. And it's amazing when you don't give away free title opportunities on free TV, how much of a difference it makes when you do offer something like that, because it feels special. And it also feels special enough to subscribe to the network, or subscribe to Peacock, so you can get the PLEs to see the title opportunities, see the title matches. It's amazing when you don't just constantly give away championship matches, how much they feel, how different they feel. And last night felt different. And, there was a lot of people, including myself, who thought Seth Rollins has a shot here. He has a newly formed group with Braun Breaker, who's a tank, Paul Heyman, who's one of the greatest of all time. They're just getting on their feet. They got a lot of momentum. Jey wasn't exactly, a absolute, lock it in top champion that I think most of the fans felt was the right guy to win the Rumble. And so there was some doubt. There was some doubt that Jey was going to lose the belt. And obviously we saw the outcome of what happened on Monday night, but we'll get to that. And I will say, with Paul Heyman, with how good he is, he is one of the greatest of all time, one of the most legendary figures in all of professional wrestling. And yet he's never had a single match. I know some people have told me that he has had a couple of matches, but for all intents and purposes, the majority of fans don't look at him as a wrestler. He's not. He's a manager. He can be called an advocate. He can be called a wise man. Whatever. He's a manager. He is one of the greatest of all time to do it. But imagine if Paul Heyman actually was able to have a wrestling career. If he's this great as a mouthpiece on behalf of someone else, imagine the kind of career he would have had if he was able to actually compete in the ring and be good at it. I mean, imagine rivalries with John Cena on the microphone, right? Would have been incredible. Think about all the potential rivalries that Paul Heyman would have had over the years. Now, obviously he didn't. That's not his shtick, but I'm just saying it's incredible the level that he's achieved in the eyes of fans with only being able to speak. It's incredible. It shows you the power of promos, which obviously Paul Heyman is a master class at. So, all right, let's move on. And we have Penta versus J.D. McDonough. And McDonough's entrance was not televised here. The match did go 11 minutes with Penta beating J.D. The finish was Penta up top when Chad Gable comes out and messed with him while the referee was focused on the ejections. And Penta shook off Gable, hit him with a flip dive, and McDonough hit Penta with a whiplash, and then Penta avoided a moonsault, and he hit the Destroyer on McDonough and got the victory. So Penta continues the momentum. JD continues the losing. A nice kind of reestablishing the momentum type of victory for Penta here. And then backstage, we had Grayson Waller talk with Adam Pearce about how he wasn't happy with his singles match opponent, and Austin Theory shows up, and Waller claims he was there telling Pearce that Theory should take his singles match, and Pearce was rolling his eyes, and he agreed to switch after Theory said he wanted the match, and it ended up being Sheamus versus Austin Theory. We'll get to that in a second, but Cole hyped the WWE Money in the Bank event and the Worlds Collide event being held on June 7th in Los Angeles. So that is the next real PLE. I know we have a Saturday night main event at the end of May, so that's something to consider too. I believe it is rumored, or nearly confirmed, I think, that John Cena is actually going to be competing at a Saturday night main event. But the June 7th event in about a month is the next real PLE for WWE. So Money in the Bank, guys. Yes, we have Saturday night main event, but that's kind of a hold me over. I don't really look at that as a true PLE. It's really not. But Money in the Bank's the next big one, so we can start talking about who can win. You know, who's in a position. Who could WWE look to the future for? Heading into SummerSlam. Heading into next year's WrestleMania. So it's going to be a fun conversation after this weekend. Yes, we'll look to the Saturday night main event, but then, of course, it's really the next big marker here is Money in the Bank. And a very much beloved PLE. So we got Sheamus taking on Austin Theory. Always good to see Sheamus. He comes out of the woodwork, kind of out of nowhere. And you know what kind of match you're going to get with him. He's just a solid ass worker, in literally and figuratively. The dude can work. He is yes, I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Sheamus definitely does. He's never going to be the face of the company again. He's a legacy star who still can go. And there's still, I think, some juice to squeeze out of Sheamus if they really want to have a semi-significant run with him again. Even as Intercontinental Champion or U.S. Champion, you could do it. Even competing for the World Championship or WWE Championship, you could have him for a month or so, be a fill-in between opponents for the for a champion, for a heel champion. So I think that's something that should consider with Sheamus. While he's older now, tons of miles, he's still a hell of a worker, big name. But he's on the backside of his career, doesn't have a lot of days left, I don't think. I think they could still do something significant with him if they pace it out right and if they maybe just give him a little bit of a build, a little bit of a boost as they move forward. Give Sheamus some damn promos. He can talk. I know Sheamus is a guy that just is a constant who's there, and you look at him and go, oh, wow. Yeah, I forgot about him. Cool. I get to see Sheamus. I think that's how a lot of people feel. It's like, oh, cool. Yeah, Sheamus. I think that's how I feel anyway. Every time he comes out, I forget that he's there, but then I'm glad he's there. Because he's a big name that you don't mean to forget about, but you do, because he's not really used consistently on television. So it was great to see him. So the match was physical, as every Sheamus match is. He sets up for the 10 beats. Theory clotheslined him over the top, and then when Theory rolled into the ring, Sheamus hit him with a knee strike. And the match continues here. The match went 9.5 minutes with ending with a brogue kick and a victory for Sheamus. And it was just good. Good to see him back. The brogue kick's fun. I don't know where they go from here again with Sheamus. As I said, you can do some certain things with him on a limited basis. And I think they should get everything out of him that they can, honestly. So this is good. And the Theory Waller breakup continues to tease us. If anyone's even interested in that anymore, the Waller Theory breakup is still on hold. Probably because they don't have anything in mind for the breakup after it happens. While we know it's probably going to happen, it will happen. The idea of just having it happen with no follow-up is, of course, not a good idea. So they don't know what's going to happen after they break up. And that's really the most important part, because you can do it and have that moment. But then the question is, and more important, the question is, okay, well, why? What did you do that for? What's the plan? That is more important than the moment of having the breakup. Because if the breakup happens and then there's no plan, well, then the breakup wasn't worth it and the moment gets devalued. Which, we've seen things like that happen before. Okay, Dominic Mysterio versus Penta for the IC Championship was announced by Cole for Saturday's Backlash event. Again, predictions coming this week with a mailbag / actual prediction show coming Friday. So stay tuned for that. And let's see here. We had Dom telling the others in the room, and this is backstage, that being a champion was harder than he realized. He asked Balor if he would take care of Styles for him, and Balor got upset and asked if his job was to take care of Dom's messes. Balor flashed a smile and said of course he would do it. Again, more teasing of this pair splitting up. Just like Waller in Theory, Dom and Finn, that breakup has yet to happen too, but it's coming. So backstage, New Day and Kofi and Xavier spoke with Chad Gable. Kingston and Woods said it's time that American-made gets some respect. And Woods brought up the War Raiders wanting a shot at the tag titles. Woods said opportunities like that need to come back to American-made, and Gable loved it. Becky Lynch entered the picture and looked at all three men. They wished her good luck, and Lynch walked past them while Cole hyped her match. And he also hyped SummerSlam for August 2nd and 3rd. So there you go. We're getting a hype for the coming months. Post-Mania, they got to do that because coming down off of WrestleMania, which really left a sour taste in all of our mouths, with the Night 2 debacle, they not only do they usually do this, but they really extra need to do that this year to keep fans like, hey, guys, don't forget, we got other PLEs coming up, so stay tuned. Forget about WrestleMania. And you also notice, I'm just thinking about this now, WWE, at least maybe I've missed it because I don't watch every single minute of Raw. Have they, and this is a genuine question, but I don't think I've seen it, have they been shoving WrestleMania highlights down our throats for the past several weeks? I don't think they have. Yes, you had it on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, you had the SmackDown after WrestleMania, but I remember last year, they would not stop playing the WrestleMania highlights. I think it went to SummerSlam. It was obnoxious about the biggest gate, the biggest attendance. We took the most money from the most fans ever. Literally, that's what they said. They said they had the largest gate, which people are cheering for. Why you would announce and gloat that you just made the most money, or at least gross, made the most money from the people in attendance is really arrogant and ballsy, and I think it insults the fans' intelligence. There's no need to talk about the gate, meaning how much money you just made from the people that are sitting there, how much money you just, they gave you from their wallets willingly. You can talk about attendance, but they've brought up the gate in the arena, and fans are like, yay! And then they all probably should be sitting there going, wait a second, right? No, but I wouldn't cheer that. Anyway, but last year, they were just so self-obsessed with the WrestleMania production and everything that came with it and all the pomp and circumstance, and it went forever. This year, with WrestleMania 41, again, I may have been missing it because I don't go through the commercials and all that stuff, and some of the video packages I miss. I don't think that they've been really hammering home WrestleMania 41 like they did WrestleMania 40. And I think a lot of that has to do with the kind of silent admission that the main event of Night 2 was a disaster. And to be honest, Night 1 was not a lot of fun outside of the main event, as we've all discussed. So the highlights have not been really in our faces. They've just kind of moved on. And I think that's really the best case. Okay. So then we get a really fun segment here. One that I did not expect to enjoy as much as I did. And that was Becky Lynch coming out and said she was upset with the fans and that they were treating her like she was the bad guy and, saying she's the victim, and recalled fans crying tears of joy when she returned at WrestleMania. And Lynch said nobody asked where Bayley was and nobody cared because she's garbage. She said people should be thankful when someone takes out the garbage. And Lynch said the Women's Intercontinental Champion, Lyra Valkyria, is less offensive than regular garbage, but she's still garbage. And said Valkyria wouldn't have a career or even a fiance if it wasn't for her. That's when Lyra comes out and said that Lynch is the queen of recycling because she's been recycling the same moves and tired old act for years. And Valkyria spoke as she walked to the ring and said Lynch didn't make her. She said that Lynch went on holiday and everyone got better. And she continued and said Lynch went on holiday and she made history. Valkyria held up her title belt, and Valkyria recalled Lynch saying that the championship needs her and that she was given that she's defended the title more than Lynch has shown up for work this year. Okay, before I continue. Okay, the promo here, while I did just pre-compliment it, and it was still one of Lyra's, if not Lyra's best to date, and it brought her to life. So, all this trash and recycling, that's kind of a weird... I've never had that analogy done before. It works, but it's also just too cutesy sometimes. But I get it. And yeah, Becky has been recycling a lot of her personality. So there is some truth to that over the years. She hasn't really changed a whole lot since WrestleMania 35. And also, again, the United States doesn't go on holiday. That almost sounds like a sentence that doesn't sound right. Because to us, I think I've talked about this before. Like, again, this is for the United States. I don't speak for, obviously, over in the UK. I know that they have holiday. But to me, holiday is a singular day. You know, have a good holiday, right? You hear that in stores because we're not allowed to say, or, you know, it's frowned upon. Don't say Merry Christmas. You know, we all know that. But when you say, oh, have a nice holiday, hope your holiday's good. When we hear that here, it's like, oh, yeah, cool. That means like have a great Thanksgiving or have a great Christmas or New Year's or, you know, pick your choice, Memorial Day, whatever, 4th of July. That to us is a singular day. Like holiday to me is a singular day. It is not a weeks long excursion. You know, so when I hear that, it just grammatically doesn't sound right. Because to me, I know what holiday means to us. What it means to, you know, those overseas is vacation. So the synonym for us would be vacation. So I don't really mean to make a mountain out of a molehill here, but I've never heard anyone in front of a United States crowd talk about holiday, like go on holiday, meaning, okay, you go on vacation. So it's just a difference of culture and language, but it's, you know, obviously you're in the United States. So it's a bit of I think a miss there for most people. Like, huh? What do you mean holiday? What holiday? Memorial Day? What are you talking about? Right? So to us, it's vacation. Anyway. All right. So this is where things get better for Lyra here. Lynch said it's true that everyone has had their best year while she was away, but that's only because she wasn't there to be compared to. Lynch said she's the greatest to ever do it and pointed to Sports Illustrated saying the same. And Lyra then talked about Lynch's accomplishments and and started to say that Lynch was the first women's Intercontinental Champion. And she said, oh, wait, that one was me. And she said before holding up the title that it bothers Lynch that she was the first to win it and she should get used to second place. And that's when Lynch went for a cheap shot and it ended with a brawl. And, you know, we have Lynch yelling about disrespect and they kept brawling. It ended with Lyra hitting a Nightwing finish on Becky and holding up the championship. I know a lot of people that are probably looking to Becky to win the belt here. I wouldn't put the cart before the horse here. This, if there were plans to have Becky win it, this may be the case against it. As Michael Cole even said, she came out of her shell. It's true. It felt like she was hatched. You know, it felt like she was poking through the egg and she broke through like that dinosaur in Jurassic Park. It's just like she hatched out of there. You know, the eggshell's off of her. It's like she was born. She became a personality. Before she was just kind of this NXT star. Again, if you didn't follow her in NXT, she was just kind of this, you know, I mean, honestly, generic NXT star, good in the ring, not much of a personality, but can go. And, you know, we just like her because she seems nice. And now it's like, oh, we learned something about her here. We understand a little bit more about your motivations, your personality, what you're like on the mic when you cut a long form promo, when you're going toe to toe with one of the best. How does she stack up? And we saw that and it felt like she belonged. So I think she took Lyra did a big step forward last night in personality, not in the ring. There doesn't seem to ever be an issue with anyone in the ring, honestly. It was more personality, and that was a part that she really needed to work on, and I think she came out shining. So that's why I'm saying I would not bet against Lyra retaining at Backlash for the Intercontinental Championship. In fact, that's kind of what I want, is Lyra to retain. All right. We then add Iyo Sky versus Roxanne Perez in a non-title match. Cole noted that Ripley was in Australia doing media for the shows in Perth, and Sky hit Perez with an early suicide dive and rolled back inside. Some early action here. The match went 10 minutes, as most matches do here on Monday night, at least this episode. Sky sold a knee injury. She went up top and attempted her over-the-moonsault finish, but Roxanne moved and Sky sold the knee pain and landed on her feet. Sky then stuffed a pop rocks and threw a kick, but Perez caught her leg and gave her a dragon screw leg whip. They then took turns rolling each other's pins into reverses and reverses into pins. Sky eventually gets the finish and gets the victory. After the match, Perez offered a handshake. She seemed happy or at least respectful and accepted. Roxanne left the ring, and then Julia attacked Sky from behind, and that's when Roxanne laughed at ringside and joined Julia in the ring to beat down Sky. And Cole reminded fans that Rhea Ripley was in Australia because, I'm sure everyone at home was sitting there going, "Where's Ripley? We'll make the save. Well, she's in a different country, so that's what Cole wanted us to be aware of. So, yeah. So it was good. I mean, some people are mentioning funnily, I guess, was it funnily a word? Funny enough, comedically, well, where's Dakota Kai? That would have been a perfect opportunity for Dakota to make a run in. Yeah, about that, right? I mean, with Dakota being released, that's the joke. Not going to happen. But boy, if there was ever a time for Dakota to make the save, there's not been a whole lot of opportunities for Dakotas to be perfectly set up to make a big time save. Of course, they have that set up the week after they release her. So the universe gets the last laugh, I guess. I don't know. I really do wish the best for Dakota. I mean, I was actually, as Dakota was getting more and more screen time, enjoying her more and more, especially that turn on Bayley leading up to last year's WrestleMania. I really enjoyed that version of Dakota. I really loved it. And it's like, oh, okay, there is something here. And it never really manifested into much, or at least they didn't allow it to. All right. So then we have a tale of the tape with Rusev versus Otis. Then we get the match. Predictably, Rusev beats Otis. He did it in 8.5 minutes after he put him in the Accolade and got the submission. And after the match, Rusev ignored the ref, and he eventually released the hold. Tozawa entered the ring and wanted to fight Rusev. He opted to leave the ring instead, and when Tozawa checked on Otis, Rusev came back and beat up both men and put Otis in the Accolade again, and a group of referees and trainers ran out and eventually got Rusev to release. And that was that. Otis did get a decent amount of offense here. It wasn't a squash, but Otis has got size, and you can't have Rusev just train through Otis. I know on the totem pole of stardom, Otis is not very high, but he's still a big dude that the fans adore, and you can't have Rusev just steamroll him, and they didn't. There was a respectable amount of offense from Otis, and I think that was important here, despite the fact that Rusev is going to win for a multitude of reasons. He just returned. He's a bigger star generally. Those are really enough reasons for him to win. So yeah, and they probably have plans for Rusev where they don't really have for Otis. So there's your third reason. So that's when, again, so it looks like Rusev is going to remain a heel. I know and fans didn't really adore him as much in this beatdown as they did last week with him beating down Otis and Tozawa. The fans got on Rusev a little bit more. So I think once the shine wears off of his return and the fans decide, okay, cool, yay, it's great to have you back, but then Rusev continues to attack the people you like, I think that will overtake the shininess and the love affair that fans have with Rusev of being excited to see him back. That'll wear off quick. And I think you already saw some of that last night. So keeping Rusev a heel is fine. I don't have any issue with it. He's played both sides, and he's really good at both sides. So, and he's ultra athletic. I mean, he trimmed down. He looks good in the ring. Rusev just looks really good. All right, and especially that spinning heel kick on Otis. That was crazy. So then we get the Gunther and Pat McAfee segment. And Gunther spoke about being a professional. This is in the ring. Then we had McAfee pointing to Cole and called him a walking, talking goat. And McAfee said, Cole has only missed 3 weeks and 28 years with WWE, And McAfee said Cole has earned the right to have an opinion. McAfee played to the Nebraska fans and the sports there. And McAfee mentioned baseball in Nebraska and hosted. Okay, so he starts talking about other stuff that just really gets the fans on his side. McAfee said he and Gunther grew up with the same dream of wanting to be in WWE. McAfee said they both spent hours and hours watching pro wrestling as children while thinking that that's what they were put on the planet to do. And McAfee said Gunther has been a champion for 80% of the time he's been in WWE, and said that Gunther's jaded and it's become a job to him. And McAfee said he gets jacked up when he walks into arenas. And he said Gunther got too comfortable and that he'll underestimate him on Saturday and that he'll prove this version of Gunther is soft. That was good. I mean, McAfee can talk. He can. It's too bad that he's, not the most muscular or athletic looking dude. I understand he's a punter. I understand he's a former NFL. I understand all that. He's got, the number one podcast in the world. I get it. I get all that. But what does that qualify him to be in the ring with Gunther? I understand it. Yeah, it's the underdog. I don't know. It's going to be, I think, one of those matches where McAfee has no business getting the amount of offense that he's going to get in, because we saw what he did with Austin Theory at WrestleMania. Was it 38? And he got a lot of offense in on Austin Theory, but Austin Theory did a lot of the work for him. He's one of the best guys to have in the ring with somebody that needs to look good. And Gunther, I think, he's not Austin Theory. In reality, I wouldn't have McAfee get more than a couple of shots in before he gets absolutely destroyed by Gunther. But they're not going to do that in WWE, true WWE fashion. They're going to have, and I hope they don't do this, but I do believe they probably will, have Pat McAfee get a couple of hope spots where you believe he could actually beat Gunther. There is no world in which that should happen, but they will have that happen because, it's entertainment, right? They'll use that's just the blanket deodorizer for everything that they do. And I'm already hammering for something they haven't done yet, but I can sense it coming. But a lot of times WWE will do things and that they know that it's the wrong decision, but they won't admit it, and they'll just deodorize it by saying, well, it's entertainment, enjoy it. That's such a cop-out corporate answer. What that really means is we don't have the balls to take accountability for the bad decisions we make. And so we're going to now insult your intelligence by telling you it's just entertainment. Calm down. At the same time, they put up Scream, the decibel meter thing, which, by the way, I think is a bunch of garbage. That thing is manipulated top to bottom. I mean, when they put on I forget what they call it, some kind of meter when they have a big star come out and they show how many decibels it is. It's all just completely phony. But they're telling us in one breath, yell and scream and tell us what you think. And then in the same breath, they're like, well, don't get too crazy if it's not nice. It's just entertainment after all. Calm down. Oh, boy. Anyway, well, this is what Gunther said. On Saturday, that bell's going to ring. I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to maul you. I'm going to grab you by the head and drive it into the mat. I'm going to choke you out until you drop like a wet towel. And Gunther said McAfee is untouchable due to his grace. And Gunther said that on Saturday, only the grace of God will lift his arms off of McAfee's throat. And Gunther shoved the mic into McAfee's chest and stormed out of the ring. And then that was that. So I think that was good. It was a fine promo for an announcer versus a wrestler, which I'm not always a big fan of, but we're getting it. It is as good of a build as you can have. And you talk about Gunther's fall from grace here. He goes from an unbeatable ring general to tapping out instantly to Jey Uso to now facing an announcer that he's going to have to sell for on Saturday. I hope this is a breakdown to rebuild Gunther. No disrespect to Pat, but look, you can't have Pat McAfee in any scenario look like he could beat Gunther on Saturday. I know they'll do it to get the fans excited. Oh my God, there could be a moment, but ultimately you're still hurting Gunther. Gunther will be more damaged coming out of this match. There's just no scenario in which Gunther can't be more damaged coming out of this match because he's going to sell for Pat. So it's a quote unquote entertaining match. But he has also, just in the first place, no business in the ring with Pat McAfee. He is above that. I thought he was above facing Jey at WrestleMania. And now he's just down to beating up announcers. So I think and I hope this is just a way to break Gunther down to build him back up. All right, almost through Raw. So next week in Louisville, you have AJ Styles versus Finn Balor, the War Raiders taking on American Made, and Iyo Sky and Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez and Julia. So fun. I like that they do that. That was a lot of stuff that they didn't do during the Vince McMahon era. Although now there's a lot of people who called Vince McMahon the devil incarnate just a year or two ago who are now begging for Vince to come back because of the things that are going on with TKO and WWE and how TKO views WWE and all that. And hey, love or hate Vince, and I know a lot of people hate Vince. I understand your dislike for him, but you wouldn't be here. You likely would not have the love for professional wrestling that you do had it not been for Vince McMahon. And putting aside all of my personal feelings, all of his personal faults, and he's got a lot. I don't care about what he's done in his personal life. I really don't. I mean, that's your own problem. All I care about as a fan, and that's really all you should care about as a fan, because none of us know Vince personally. At least 99.9999% of us listening to this don't know Vince personally, if not everyone that is listening to this doesn't. Everything he does in his personal life does not affect you unless you need it to for some personal vendetta. All the professional decisions he made ultimately led to you being a fan. You are here. I am here doing this because of Vince McMahon. And there's just no two ways about it. He created the most successful pro wrestling company of all time. No, not sports entertainment, professional wrestling, because that's what is the entertainment, is the wrestling. And now people that just absolutely excoriated Vince McMahon a short time ago are wanting him to come back, and that's not going to happen. But you just see how fickle people are, and how sometimes they jump on the bandwagon, and people are starting to turn on Triple H, turn on TKO themselves. WWE, the day they died was the day that TKO bought the company. You're seeing it all now. It's how people are. It's human nature. But okay, let's move on. Main event: Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. And we got this match going for, let me get the timestamp, nearly 20 minutes. Wow, I didn't know it was that long. Didn't feel it. Really good match, as expected, from two absolute professionals. The stomp that Rollins gave Jey wasn't the best stomp in the world, and I'm glad that both Cole and McAfee pointed out that he didn't get all of it, because it ended up working out that was a near fall. I don't think he was supposed to sell it that way, but it ended up working out perfectly because the kick out was believable since he didn't, quote unquote, get all of it. And so it was just kind of a perfect happenstance situation. And Sammy comes out after, of course, Breaker interferes, and Breaker walked towards the entrance and waited for him. Zayn came out from the crowd, jumped the barricade onto Breaker, got some revenge. Zayn had his ribs taped, and that's when Breaker recovered and speared Zayn, which, by the way, I appreciate that Sammy at least had his ribs taped. But if you really had your ribs taped and you had broken ribs, you aren't moving like that. He had the visual, but he didn't sell anything. Okay, I appreciate it, and I truly do appreciate it. At least he had something on, but he was moving around just as if it was another night. However, he got speared again by Breaker, and Jey left the ring to check on Zayn, and that's when Breaker speared Jey while Heyman distracted the ref. And then Rollins hit Jey with a stomp and was about to pin him. That's when Punk's music came out, hit, and crowd popped huge. He came out with a chair. Punk took out Breaker, came in the ring. He tackled Rollins and slammed the chair over his back while the referee could be seen waving off the match at ringside. And Punk then hit Rollins with a chair again, and Rollins exited the ring and stood with the Breaker and Heyman. and that was it. So this was a really good match. Now, the finish being kicked out of, not just the stomp, but the false finish of Jey getting his spear and the Uso splash also was a fun false finish, because you're thinking, okay, wow, he's gonna retain, and Seth kicks out, and you're like, uh-oh. And then Seth gets his stomp, and Breaker gets his spear, and you go, oh God, here we go. If you're a Jey Uso fan, you're in trouble. And so they had a lot of fun ups and downs. They took us on a ride, did they not? Yeah, they did. Really fun main event. Really fun main event here with Jey and Seth. They've worked together throughout the years here now with the World Championship. If you remember, when the World Championship was reintroduced with Seth Rollins becoming the first World Heavyweight Champion again, pretending the lineage doesn't exist before that, and it did. Quite a few years before that, the World Heavyweight Championship did. But when it was reintroduced a few years ago, Seth was the first champion. And I remember attending a Raw in which Jey versus Seth, while Seth was champion, was the main event, and Jey came close to winning at that point. Now, fast forward a couple years later, now Jey's the champion and Seth is the one in chase mode. It's just kind of funny how things work. But it was a good main event, really good main event. That's a wrestling main event. And I think that will carry into Backlash, and perhaps we get some kind of multi-man match with Seth and Jey and Punk for the World Championship. That seems to be what I'm tilting towards. I wish I just didn't always have to resort to the crutch of a triple threat whenever we see more than one person involved in a world title. You just kind of know instinctively that, oh, well, this person's here. Oh, here comes a third person, triple threat. Triple threats and fatal four ways and fatal five ways and all that should not be as common as they are, but that's just the landscape. It's the kind of the culture of pro wrestling today. So I would think that's probably where they're headed, but we'll find out in the coming days, I would imagine, or in the next coming weeks, because we don't have a world championship match. Right now, as I look at the card, it's John Cena, Randy Orton for the undisputed WWE Championship, Lyra versus Becky for the women's IC belt, Jacob Fatu versus Knight versus McIntyre versus Damian Priest for the U.S. Championship, and Dominic versus Penta, that's it, for the IC Championship. Oh, and Gunther versus McAfee. I think that's probably it. Unless there's some surprise match produced on SmackDown, I don't think there will be. This is it. This is your final card. So we got 5 matches. I think that's enough for this PLE. And then that's been kind of the staple of a Triple H, Paul Levesque PLE, has been 5 matches, longer matches, and that to me is it's better pacing. The wrestlers were able to tell a story. Fans are able to digest it a little bit more. You don't have to rock it through matches. And I think it'll remain at 5. So the only one that's not a championship is McAfee versus Gunther. The rest are all 4 out of the 5 are for championships. So that's good. And now we can look forward to past Backlash and whatever that's going to offer as we head really towards Saturday night's main event quick, and then the Money in the Bank event on June 7th. So overall, solid episode of Monday Night Raw. And we have a preview for next week, which is always a good thing, knowing what's coming for the following week and things we get to look forward to. It also shows some booking decisions ahead of time, that they have a plan. I think that's a big reason why they didn't announce a lot of stuff during the Vince McMahon era, is that they didn't want to commit and then have to back out if they had a better idea in the coming week. But nope, if you announce it, they're sticking to it. And that I do like that change. From the Vince McMahon era. Not every change, that's for sure. One of the biggest I think I don't like is the advertising in the ring. That's just plastered all over the mat and all over the sides, and it's just, I'm watching wrestlers on a billboard every single night, and every single Monday night in PLE. I hate it so much with the advertised sponsors all over the ring. And I know that have to make money, and I understand all that, but the trade-off is the visual, which is just horrendous. I can't get used to it. I can't get used to Snickers or Slim Jim or Prime or whatever the hell, Fortnite, is on the ring mat every single time Monday Night Raw or a PLE happens. I can't get used to it. It's so commercialized. I can't get just into it sometimes because of that, but maybe it's my own problem. That's a me problem, I think. All right, that'll do it. If you guys want to join me on Patreon and go ad-free, it's a good place to go, patreon.com/WWE Podcast. You can go to my website. I guess you can still do that. Websites are kind of not the way to go anymore, but WWEpodcast.com does still exist, or on Apple or Spotify. Just check me out for the ad-free versions of the show. They're all there. Thank you, everybody, for joining me here as we will go into the week here and have maybe another nostalgic show, but NXT is coming. The After Dark show is coming for the exclusive members of Patreon. And, of course, the mailbag / preview and prediction show for Backlash is going to come to you on Friday. So thanks, everybody. Until then, take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.